All right, well, I was a mechanic for 23 years. Gina was a hairstylist. And when you're in your 20s and 30s, being a mechanic, you can crank the work out, and that's what you have to do if you want to make some good money. But when you get into your 40s, especially your mid-40s, body starts slowing down. You've been breathing poisons for the last 20-some-odd years. Health starts to deteriorate. And then to top it off, the place that you're working at decides to change into a strip mall. So one way or another, it's going to have to find something else to do. And while I was looking for something else, we went to Gina's work. She was a hairstylist, helped open a shop 3 years previous, and went to get insurance, and tell them what happened.
Wow. Sometimes when you're hearing your story and you're telling it, it can get kind of emotional. So I was a hairstylist for over 20 years. I was working in a shop, and I says, hey, we walked in one day, and October of 2003, and I said, need some health insurance. My husband's going to be losing his job. And they're like, fine, here's your information. Open enrollment is January 4th. Okay, great. Well, a week before Christmas, I got pulled into the office, and they said, by the way, health insurance, you don't get any. You're not full-time, you're part-time. No longer guaranteed hours, no holiday pay, no vacation pay. Only before Christmas. Merry Christmas. Wow. And that was probably the best thing they ever did for us. They did us a favor. And I went back home and I told John, and it's like, we gotta do something different. I'm not sitting here. I'm not gonna let someone else dictate our destiny.
So, we got introduced to Xango, and had some health issues. Gina had some health issues. We were really interested in the product to see what that was going to do for us. But we didn't wait to see what the product was going to do before we started sharing it. We went out and we started doing it right away because we needed to get something done. The need was there. The thought of continuing to be a mechanic for the rest of my life, I always used to tell Gina, you don't see a mechanic, at least not a happy one usually, in their 50s. It just doesn't happen. So I found another job finally, and we were thinking we could get another $1,000 to $1,200 coming in with Xango. I used to do side work at night. I wouldn't have to do side work at night. We could be home together at night, and we could open business together. And so $1,000 to $1,200 we were looking for. We started sharing with people. A friend of mine had back problems, he got benefits. Another friend's wife had fibromyalgia, she got benefits. People started getting results, and it was like, this is real, it's happening. And we were noticing results ourselves. And we had a newspaper flyer at a Whole Foods store. And someone brought that to Melissa Taft there. And that's a whole story in itself. But the business just exploded. Melissa knew more about this industry than we did. When we first shared the information with her, she goes, I'm not interested in business. I know how these things work. I just want to see what the product can do. That was it. Well, about 6 weeks later, after she'd been using the product, Gina and her, they had some health issues the same, and so they kind of developed a friendship on the phone, which was kind of cool. And about 6 weeks later, Melissa says, the product's fantastic, how are you guys building business? I just want to say one more thing. $1,000 to $1,200 what we were looking at to get going with the business. When we saw what this really was, everybody told us, you need to go to convention. And I didn't want to go to convention. It's like, why should I spend money? Shouldn't the company be paying us to go to conventions so we can learn more stuff? Because I have the mindset of an employee. I was not a business owner at the time. It's something that developed, and it took a long time to get from the structure of being an employee to a business owner. But I'm a numbers person, and they told us in 3 days you'll learn more than you'll learn in 6 months. 3 days versus 6 months, worth the money. Gina can tell you what happened at convention.
When we went to convention, we saw everyday people like you and I, educated, uneducated, all walks of life. It didn't matter what kind of social status they came from. And I knew one thing when we got I knew that this industry, like anything else, there's a skill that you have to develop. And I could learn that skill. We could learn that skill. And so I looked at John when we got home, and I said, honey, we're not supplementing our income. And he kind of looked at me like puzzled. And I said, we're replacing it. The decision was made. And January of '06, by that time, we both had quit our jobs, and we haven't moved